honored today to introduce our keynote speaker, who is Professor Jeroen van Hoven from the Technical University in Delft in the Netherlands. He's a professor of ethics, he's a chairman of the Values and Technology Department at the university, and also the director of research at the 3TU Center of Ethics and Technology. And you also chaired the expert group,
yes,
the European Commission expert group about RR.
Yeah. I feel personally responsible for explaining what this term means. Yeah.
Yeah, and I must tell you that I was most impressed when I heard your keynote at the conference on responsible innovation in the Netherlands earlier this year. So we are really delighted that you accepted our invitation to come and talk to us in Sweden. So please, the floor is yours.
I was waiting for this little gadget I need to flip through my PowerPoint presentation. Well, thanks first of all for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure to be here and to do exactly what I just announced, explain a little bit about what this term responsible research and innovation stands for. And the Secretary of State made it very easy by, I think, what I gathered, he said at the end that innovations should be geared towards betterment and improvement of society. And this is exactly what this term is supposed to refer to. But I will unpack that a little bit for you, because I think there is something distinctively new about this approach that the European Commission has now embraced. And it's not just continuing the conversation as we've done by talking about sustainability and about equality of opportunity and gender, etc. There is something distinctively new. And that's what I would like to bring out for you in the next half hour. After that, we have some time for questions, I understand. And I will dish this out for you in 5 little steps. Something about the institutional EU background, some recent Dutch examples, some of them good, some of them bad. And it would be impolite to use bad examples from other member states, because I can give some bad examples of where we went wrong from the Netherlands. And then I will talk about 2 things that I think are really specific, and I would like to explain a little bit about them to you. And then close with, what does this thing responsibility mean in RRI? Okay, first, the institutional background. So everyone, pretty much everyone in the audience knows about Horizon 2020. People not familiar with that? No, everyone. Okay, good. The good news is that there is some 80 billion euros invested by the European Commission in the next 10 years into this R&D program. That's wonderful. But since and this is a very nice occasion to be able to point this out to you here in Stockholm. Since the Swedish presidency in 2009, research and innovation should be geared in Europe towards the grand challenges, our big societal problems. And this is just further to this basic idea. And what these challenges are, we know. It's about clean drinking water, about food production, climate change, overfishing, deforestation, sustainable energy, cybersecurity, orphan diseases, failing states, hunger, etc. All of the world's problems. So this is the Innovation Union is set in that context. Responsibility center stage in Europe. And I can assure you that I'm doing a lot of travel and giving these talks around the world, in China and the US. People are envying us a little bit for the fact that we have the courage and the audacity, the intellectual audacity, also the self-assuredness to put these things center stage and not compromise on them. And to also think how we can implement that in our science and technology and innovation policies. So it has even been, 500 million euro dedicated within Horizon 2020 to this topic. It is a way of putting your money where your mouth is. That's interesting in itself. The unit in DG Research in Brussels has changed its name over the course of time. First we were thinking about, science, how should it be related to society? Then we moved on to say, well, science is part of society. This is a semi-permeable and open connection between the two. And now the unit has changed its name to Science for and even with Society, to indicate that there is also dialogue and participation involved. So a cross-cutting theme. It's not only piled up in DG research, it's allocated, distributed through all of the programs of Horizon 2020. So if you wade through that PDF document and use the search term responsible research and innovation, you will find it everywhere, and it pops up everywhere. Now this is the report that I produced together with a group of experts. I chaired this committee, and I was just telling the organizers before we have lunch that this defending this the conclusions from this report in Brussels to some of the higher level civil servants was a grueling experience. Actually, I found it more difficult than defending my PhD thesis for a very hostile committee, because people wanted to really challenge this idea. Should we really invest 500 million euros into an ethical program? Are we not making things too difficult on ourselves, whereas the Chinese and the rest of the world is not raising the bar, so our products and our services will be much more expensive? Well, I think there are good reasons not to think along these lines, but really have the courage to do so. It was the reason why I was asked to play a role in this was because 10 years before we started in the Netherlands with the Dutch Research Council to think about a program responsible innovation. And it's been quite successful, actually. We've been working with government agencies, with ministries, and with industry, and with the universities to do multidisciplinary research, which is geared towards not only the Dutch problems, but the global problems. And it's been running now for a couple of years, and some 20 million euro have been invested in it, and we will carry on with this program. So we have very good results with that. In the meanwhile, of course, what you expect happens is that if the European Commission puts 500 million euros into something, then you will find everyone across Europe talking about this topic, because you can apply for grants and get some money. So there is a whole RRI industry. When you go to conferences about science and technology, you will find special tracks on RRI. So definitions, theories, thinking about technology and society. It should be upfront, it should be anticipatory, not too late, not too little too late. It should be inclusive, it should be multidisciplinary. All of these, the usual mantra that is not really surprising. What I want to do in the next couple of minutes is to indicate what is really exciting and different. But first, some Dutch examples. This is a device that we are famous for water management in the Netherlands. This is a fish escalator. So we're managing a lot of water, pumping it in, pumping it out, keeping it level. But we also care about the ecosystem and about the fish. In order to prevent, fish paste on the other side of this device, you have to allow the fish to, pass it in good health. And this is an escalator, which is like this, a device which allows you to cover a lot of height in a very short time and help the fish to cross the barrier. So what you want to do here is you want to manage, this is a safety matter, but you also want to take care of the health of the fish, not only the health of the Dutch population. You want to manage this, and you want to do this. If you want to keep this structure in mind, I come back to it. So you want two things, right? Or many things. Here, an invention I'm happy to announce was thought about in Delft. This is the foldable container. 30% of the containers travel the world empty. So a lot of gain can be made if you can fold them in, and four will take the place of one. So very good idea. This is a Dutch Fairphone, made fairly out of environmental friendly materials from countries that are not failing states and run by dictators. People are not exploited. We've been thinking about recycling. So this is a responsible smartphone. So a lot of the things that we think are good are built into this thing. This is, I don't know how it goes with you, but my wife every now and then asks me to bring a package of stuff that she ordered over the internet, to bring it back to the post office and send it back because she doesn't like the color or it doesn't fit or something like that. So we have a lot of packages being sent around the world because of the online commerce. So a lot of traffic, a lot of handling cost, etc. So this is a virtual mannequin. So you give, for once, you give your size and your biometric features, and there is a virtual you, and you can fit everything that you want to buy online. So the chances that it will fit and that it will suit you, you will like it, go up. And therefore the number of packages that are sent around, shipped around the world go down. Well, this is a very responsible idea. This is a project for tidal energy, and again it does a couple of things at the same time that we think are important. We want to manage it, so it's flood defense, it's safety of the Dutch population, which you know live below sea level in large parts of the country. So we have to do this well. But also we want to manage the ecosystem and allow the right, brackish water to flow there. Keep salt water out, but we also want to manage the fish, etc. But we also want to, if we can, generate energy, blue energy. So 3 functions built into one device. This is something that we do off the shore of the Netherlands. Here is Rotterdam, it's Delft, The Hague, here's Rotterdam. And this is building with nature. So instead of having heavy equipment for 10 years, drifting along the shore and replenishing the sand and reconstructing the coastline, we have built something like a peninsula like this, and then we will find that the flow of water will generate natural deposits of sand all along this shore. And at the same time, this is fine for recreation. We have little kind of animals living there, birds flying there, so we have recreation, we have managing the ecosystem, and we prevent heavy equipment for longer periods trawling through the coastal waters. This is another idea, neat idea, that, we have a lot of those greenhouses. A lot of, if you fly over the Netherlands by night, you see large parts of the Netherlands lighting up because of those greenhouses. So agriculture, big area for us. So Sun came up with this nice idea because it takes up a lot of heat and you require a lot of energy. So these things, servers and databases, give off a lot of heat. So if you put them next to glass houses, you can use them as heaters. So that's a very, so they're working on this. This is our former Prime Minister, Ruud Lubbers. He gave an innovation prize for pretty much the same thing as this. Churches in the Netherlands are no longer used for religious ceremonies, but they are used for conferences. And if you want to run a conference, you need heat the building, and churches are very cold. But servers, computer servers, need a lot of cooling, and you put them in the basement of these churches. So you have 2 things at the same time. You see the pattern. You want a lot of things, and you come up with a solution, a design that allows you to do all of those things at the same time. This is also a bad example. This is a bus near The Hague, and it was optimized for sustainability. We were just gung-ho about sustainability. Let's make it lighter, even more efficient. Let's make it run on liquid gas. Well, this is what happened. We were just too obsessed with sustainability, and then the bus exploded. It's not only sustainability, it's also about safety. We need to do several things at the same time, and we have to think about clever things that allow us to have our cake and eat it. So this is our unfortunate and slightly sad moral condition in the 21st century. We're confronted with value pluralism, and we are non-relativists about these values. These are the values. We want privacy, we want autonomy, we want equity, justice, dignity, well-being and happiness, safety, security, sustainability, health, friendship, solidarity, all of them. Right? And we are not saying, oh, let's forget about equity. Oh, let's forget about health and sustainability. No, they're all important. We are non-relativists and we are pluralists with respect to our values. We all think they're important. So, and they could translate into more specific values. Think about infrastructures, or think about systems. You know, we want them to be flexible, reliable, resilient, usable, dependable. So, there are always conflicts and dilemmas because of this tragic, sad, modern condition that we're in. And this is the problem of moral overload. We want to do a lot of good, and we feel overburdened. There's so many things that we want to do, but just we can't, most of the time. But I think we can. Yes, we can. That's a little bit of a cliche. But, so let's look at another a case in the Netherlands where it went all wrong. 5 years ago, we thought, well, let's think about smartifying the electricity grid. We have to meet those CO2 reduction targets in Europe, and if we want to reach them, we have to smartify the grid. Therefore, we have to turn every household into a smart node. We have to do peak shaving, we have to do smarter management of the grid, and therefore we have to equip every household with a smart meter. The industry and all the parties involved, the multi-stakeholders, we had them all around the table, everyone was looking at this business case, it was ready to roll, everyone was ready to roll. Great idea. And then it was presented to Upper House, and then we started to have a little bit of a privacy discussion in the Netherlands, because it turned out that this smart meter was just a little spy sitting somewhere in a cupboard and registering how much electricity you used, whether you were at home or not, and with some smart data analytics you could figure out which movie you've been watching on a Friday evening. Right? And so when people started to realize this, they said, we won't have this. 5 years of research and development, right? A no-brainer. Everyone knows that we have to move in this direction if we want to be really sustainable. But privacy is a legitimate concern. Security is a legitimate concern. So they claimed, the Delft engineers, or engineers from all over the Netherlands, thought that they had a smart meter. It was actually a quite stupid meter, because it failed to integrate and to take into account legitimate value considerations pertaining to privacy. If they would have done so, they would have been able to come up with a much smarter meter, a really smart meter. Same thing for the electronic patient record system. Same discussion, 10 years of work. According to estimations, 300 million of failed innovation. Because, same thing, privacy considerations. And I talked to the people 10 years ago who were working on this, and they said, well, we've ticked all the boxes. We've taken care of privacy. I said, well, I'm not so sure. And they haven't studied it really, they haven't taken it very serious. And if they would have done so, these problems would not have occurred. So this is the structure of the problem of moral overload. We want sustainability, right? But we also want privacy. And you can fill in any other value, as the story will illustrate. Or we say, well, think about the CCTV camera discussions. Less prominent probably here in Sweden than they are in the Netherlands or in the rest of Europe. That's my assumption. But anyway, you see what the gist of the story is. You want your privacy, you want your sustainability, and you want your security in the street. Now, this is the structure of the problem. Think about the CCTV cameras. You want your privacy above a certain threshold level, and you want your security above a certain threshold level. Therefore, the area for your ideal moral solutions is here. Here you satisfy both of your values above a certain threshold level. Unfortunately, we're often stuck with a first-generation camera system, the first one we have. And that's a pretty stupid one. If you apply it, it will give you razor-sharp images of innocent citizens in the street and blurred images of the crooks, right? And then you have neither security nor privacy. Or you move to the next generation camera system, the 2.0 camera system, which is much better. And you hang it everywhere, and you have a lot of security, but no privacy. Or you say, well, what the heck, don't hang it everywhere, and you have a lot of privacy, but you don't have any security. So, of course, you see where I'm getting at. We want a really, really smart camera system that is so subtle and so fine-grained that you can tweak it in such a way that you can have the benefits of camera systems and IT infrastructure behind it without the drawbacks. Right? The best of both worlds. And this is a technology that is so sophisticated that you can do what you want and it accommodates all of the things that you expect of it, ideally. Okay, so this is one, the larger description, but this is the summary of it. The moral axiom of this solving problems of moral overload, that we want sustainability, we want all of those things, right, is the following. If you can change the world by innovation today, so that you can satisfy more of your obligations tomorrow, you have an obligation to innovate today. That is the lesson. And it's a pretty obvious one. And you can see how this also, this was part of my argument when I was arguing with the civil servants in Brussels. This is not only making it more difficult on yourself, it is also a challenge to innovate and to be ahead of the curve or to even be competitive in the market, maybe on moral values. Look at what happened in Germany. Right? Sustainability. We thought, in the 70s and 80s, oh, those poor Germans, they cannot, how can they grow? How can they be in business if, the Green Party is chaining itself to every factory they can find and frustrating economic growth and further development. So this tension between sustainability and economic growth is again the tension. Germany, they're slightly taking some hits now, but Germany is market leader in sustainability technology. Why is that the case? It is the case because they had to innovate themselves out of the problem. They had to come up with clever solutions. If they would have been able to say, oh, let's pretend as if the environment isn't there, they couldn't because they had the Green Party. They had to take that serious. They were thinking about clever solutions. And I think that if countries in 10 years' time want to decommission overnight, where are they going to look for expertise and knowledge? They come to Germany. How do you do that? How do you shut down reactors, in a week? So this zero idea is a way of being non-relativists about your values, right? And Sweden is a very good example, and I travel the world and I give the Swedish example. Your very stringent policies on road safety have actually triggered a lot of innovation, and I recommend that there is a very nice study to be done on RRI. If you say, well, zero emissions, zero accidents, preventable deaths in the road, zero children dying, etc. And look at the innovation that triggered. First of all, we started to think about cars and the people driving them, so making it very robust. And so the Volvos were driving around like tanks, very dangerous for people driving their bicycles and pedestrians. Right? And then we started to think, well, let's think about, and then you're getting into very clever sensor technology. Why? Because you're concerned about people, not only about the driver, you're also concerned about people on the street, the other people. You wouldn't think about these if you didn't have that very stringent policy that is a codification of a value, a very shared value throughout society. And now they said, well, okay, Volvo said, well, now we come to think of it, our crash dummies are male. It doesn't look as if that's very, interesting, but there are also pregnant women driving Volvos. And if you talk about the technology that makes the driver safer, then you have to come up with a different technology. Why would you go that far? Why would you be the first to introduce that? Well, not only because the law requires you to do so, but also because you're really concerned. So the message here is, people who are really concerned and take their values serious, they will see a larger part of the world and have more chances to innovate. If you contrast it with people who have a very narrow view and only think about quarterly revenues. Right? So values can be drivers of innovation. I have to look at the time. Values as drivers of innovation, moral progress by innovation, transforming the world by design so that we can respect more of our obligations and responsibilities than before. So innovation becomes a little bit of a moral concept. We've seen per Lund Declaration that they're already aiming at the grand challenges, not just any problem, but just our big societal problems. And we're thinking about these things in such a way that we expand the set of obligations that we can satisfy. So, innovation, activity or process which may lead to previously unknown designs, which may help to expand the set of relevant, feasible options. That's innovation, right? Because you're adding just new functionality. Little gadget allows me to do something which I couldn't do before. Adding new functionality. Responsible innovation is adding new functionality so that you can expand the set of moral obligations that you have. So that's the idea. Okay, now I come to the second ingredient of responsible innovation that I would like you to come to grips with. And that's called value-sensitive design. This is an historical example, and it's about Sweden and the Netherlands. These are Dutch ships, and they were coming to Stockholm and to this area in the Baltic. And they had to pay taxes. Unfortunately, we Dutch, we don't like to pay taxes. I think that's the same everywhere. But I think it's the Swedish levy tax on those ships. And the way to calculate the amount of tax the Dutch were due, they measured the square meters of the deck of the ship. And you see this strange, bulky, design of the ship. You can see where I'm going, and this, the Dutch were clever tradesmen. So what they did is they started to design a huge volume, a small deck. And they kept working on this. Right? So they had the tax requirement, but they also wanted to ship more cargo. But the ship also needed to be stable and robust, and fast. So you had all of those requirements coming together, and they all come together in this design, clever design of the ship. This is the door of humility. It's nothing to do with humility. This is the birth church of Christ in Bethlehem. And so it's very low, and you have to bow your head if you want to go inside. That's the reason it's called the door of humility. If you look at the story, the architectural history of it, it's nothing to do with humility. But the door is quite robust, you see. Was built in this way, constructed in this way, to prevent mounted horsemen raiding the church, to go into on horseback, go into the church, grab all the gold and all the valuable things inside of the church and go out. So this is a piece of security technology. So you want your church to secure it, and you just design your object in a particular way so that it does that. Now, this is only an interesting appetizer to this story, and this is the paradigm. It's become the paradigm case of value-sensitive design, a negative example. Once you've seen this, you will recognize it everywhere. Something went wrong here, you see that, and it's related to what I would like to point out to you. It's Brooklyn, New York, you can see it still. This was constructed, it's part of a whole piece of infrastructure of so-called low-hanging overpasses in New York. They were built by Robert Moses, famous architecture and town planner, beginning of the previous century, 1920s. What's the case? What's happened here? These are low. And it turns out from the study of his work and his life and his thinking that Robert Moses was a little bit of a racist. What he did was he designed these things intentionally low so as to prevent the buses from the poor black neighborhoods to be routed to the white middle class beaches. He didn't want black people on the white middle class beaches, and so he made it more difficult for the bus companies to route their buses underneath. So this whole system of low-hanging overpasses was a cordon sanitaire, to keep those people out. Now, people who worked on this already said that. They saw this is lower than what we usually build. Is that okay? Yeah, it's okay, because it was the expression of a racist value. Right? And this is an example of how you can embed a value that you have into the thing that you design. And in this case, it's an obviously morally wrong value. Right? We all agree with that. But this happens all the time. And so I can give you, 1 year of lecturing about all of these cases, which I will cut short. But this is another. I think that I'll do this one. This is a nice idea to have a audio-video link real time with an emergency medicine center, so the fire brigade people can benefit from medical advice. And so this is an IT project that was perfect. It is according to budget, according to specifications, etc. And so nothing wrong with that. But it failed with the first test. And so what went wrong is not that there was smoke in front of the camera, etc. But the medical people were giving advice to this guy. They said, well, you have to apply a gel package to the arm of this boy. Whereas the fire brigade said, no, I have to apply more foam to the adjacent building because there are 5 people inside. What you see is you design something which has not been designed for the values and accommodating the value conflicts of different professional perspectives. The fire people from the fire brigade have different values, different priorities of what they have to do first, and then. If you don't fix this problem, you will have a failed innovation. Right? It's a wonderful idea, but you have to dig one level deeper and say, okay, what is driving these people? What are they concerned about? What is their obligation to do? And how can we design a system that deals with that? Right? Okay, this is the formula that killed Wall Street, a model of gauging risks in mortgage portfolios that was in every computer in Wall Street. And it was a rosy-colored spectacles that people had on. They had a way too optimistic view of the risks. And so, but this was inside of the computer program, right? So this is all examples of values being embedded and expressed into the technology. I have to skip a little bit. You will recognize this, that values are built into systems, and in IT systems, in interfaces, in infrastructures, in the algorithms, even in the ontologies, the categories that you use, the coding, the protocols, etc. Everywhere where people decide about what are we designing, what are we making, they build in their own values, and these can be the wrong values, and these can be the right values. So this is the structure. This is the structure of value-sensitive design. And this is the trick that we have to perform, and we have to educate the next generation of engineers and scientists to do. That is, a set of norms, values, ideals, principles. This is the ethical world, and this is the world of technology and innovation. And we want those two worlds to be related. We want this world to be an expression of this world. And if we have done so, we have invested $300, $500, $1 billion in this world, we want to be able to explain, and the Minister and the Secretary of State have to do that we have done a good job. Not only done the technically right job, but also from this public value perspective have done the right job. So we have to learn to design for all of those values. And this is exactly the program that we're trying to do with universities and research institutions to educate the next generation of engineers and applied sciences who can do this. If you say to an engineer, build something that strong, with that capacity, with that bandwidth, and it needs to be read, they're excited and they go off and design something that satisfies those requirements. But we have to learn to design for these things as well. That's the next step. So value-sensitive design increases chances of solving problems of moral overload by design. The people who know to do this have something really interesting to offer to the world. So finally, responsibility. So never waste an opportunity to show a cute animal during your PowerPoint presentation. A responsible innovation sounds a little bit like a lazy chair. It's responsible innovation. Do you mean that the innovation itself is responsible? That cannot be the case. Usually we say of people that they are responsible. Now this chair allows you to be lazy. It allows people to be lazy. So we're also talking about institutions, funding schemes, institutional settings that invite people, encourage people to exhibit responsible behavior. Right? That's what we want. Now, 5 more minutes, then I'm done. So what does this responsible mean? Think of different ways in which people can do certain things. Right? John does X, just simply I put the glass over here. Right? And then you can also, and not worry about who will hold you responsible for that. But if I'm really concerned, I want to be vulnerable. I want to expose myself to your criticism. So I increase the chances that you will be able to hold me responsible. So there are 2 ways of proceeding generally in things that you do. One is not worrying about how you will be held accountable later on. And the other way is by worrying about how you will be held accountable, how you can be held accountable. And so you're proceeding in a way, if you're thinking about responsible innovation, in going about your affairs in such a way that you're increasing the chances of being held responsible. Maximizing the chances that you can be held responsible. That is really what responsibility is. So, no excuses. Trying to design out opportunities, because it's very natural. People often do that. They do something and they already provide themselves with the opportunity to tell, excuses. I didn't know about it. We didn't have any opportunities. Go through the list. We didn't have the capability to find out. We didn't have any time to consider. If you proceed responsibly, you do it in such a way that you take away all of these excuses that you will be able to give later on. That is part of what it means to proceed responsibly. Now, there are different levels of responsible innovation. So, first is just mere innovation, just new functionality. I'm not worried about the grand challenges, I'm not worried about proceeding in a responsible way, I couldn't care less, I just want to make a quick buck. New functionality which takes one value into account. For example, the sustainability. Think of the exploded bus. Just concerned about one value. No, that's not the way to go. New functionality which satisfies a set of value constraints. Safety and sustainability and privacy and accountability and all of these other things. And then adding new functionality to the world while at the same time realizing or optimizing the conditions for responsibility. That is something to do with the quality of the process that you go through. Now, this is a long definition that is part of the document, and I will skip that, but I think by now the message is clear that we have a tremendous opportunity to make the world a better place by innovation. RRI turns innovation into a moral concept. It's not necessarily sand in the machine, it could also be lubricating the machine. It's aiming at a situation where you can fulfill more of your obligations than before the introduction of the innovation. So I think I'll close off and perhaps give you the opportunity to ask some questions.
We're going to hear more from Jeroen in the final discussion, but I have a question for you.
Yep.
As I have understood, the responsible innovation concept started in the Netherlands. Have you seen any changes in the scientific community as a result of that, as changed attitudes among researchers or changed way of doing research or anything?
I think we saw some changes over so it's 8 years that this program has been running with the Dutch Research Council, and it's also a trivial thing, because if you put some money on the table, and you require the researchers to work together with really interdisciplinary and have a system in place where you check whether they're really working together, or just giving a phone call to their colleagues across in the other department and just cannot put your name on there. But if you really check whether they're really doing something together, then it's miraculous what you can see. People are really teaming up. They're really reaching out to industry, out of their isolation in the universities. Often, I have to say, and they're really kind of walking into ministries and see what the problems are on the political agenda and on the policy agenda. And so it is really, and again, the students are really enthusiastic about this. You know, sometimes if you get a little bit older, you become cynical. You say, "Well, the younger generation." It's not true. I mean, younger people are really interested in doing this type of work.
Nice to hear. So if you're really promoting promoting these kinds of projects, people learn how to work more interdisciplinary.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
that's a good thing.
And important was also that the money came out of the humanities and social sciences. This is where the initiative was taken. But I said it is really important that money can also go to the technical sciences and to applied science, and so you have to reach out. Applied scientists can get money under a humanities scheme, and the other way around, hopefully. So that is of symbolic importance also, to overcome this fact people are thinking in these kind of categories.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.